Shalom. My name is Moray Ishaya Yisrael from the House of Israel in Cincinnati, Ohio, 2330 Kemper Lane, bringing to you in 40 minutes or less. In 40 minutes or less, I will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the word of Yahweh. Who is this Yahweh? Yahweh is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein. Yahweh is the Elohim of our fathers, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king, who will save us. Shalom, and praise the mighty Yah. Once again, the Almighty has allowed us to come before you on another beautiful, glorious day, bringing to you 40 minutes or less. In this lesson, lesson 42, relationship number 5, we will deal with mother and daughter. This is a very important relationship, just like the other relationships that we brought to you. This relationship is the 5th most important relationship in the scriptures. Very blessed relationship, or it should be. But today, we see a very terrible relationship between a mother and a daughter. And I want you to see why. And I'm going to show you, according to the scriptures, how this relationship should be according to Yahweh, and how he wants this relationship to be demonstrated. So let us first go. Oh, and I may add, we will do this in 40 minutes or less, because it don't take 40 minutes, oftentimes less, to prove the word of Yahweh. But let us start in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel, the 16th chapter, because what you're going to see in Ezekiel is the state of affairs of our people. And see how the Almighty will characterize us as a people. In the book of Ezekiel 16, the 45th verse, or we'll start at 44. Behold, everyone that useth proverbs shall use this proverb against thee, saying, and who is thee? Thee is talking about our people, our nation. As is the mother, so is her daughter. Thou art thy mother's daughter, that loatheth her husband and her children. And thou art the sister of thy sisters, which loatheth their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite, and your father an Amorite. And what is this really saying? Well, anytime the Almighty said he's our husband. He said he is married to us. And one of the things that the Creator did in blessing his people, he married them to what we know of as the Promised Land. And this is why in the scriptures, you will see us referred to as the daughter of Zion, the daughter of Jerusalem, or the daughter of Yehuda. You won't never see us, the scriptures say the son of Zion or the son of Jerusalem, but always the daughter. And why the daughter? Because, and that's why it says, once again, thou art thy mother's daughter that loathed her husband and her children. And why? Because in truth, when you're the daughter of Zion and you're the daughter of Jerusalem, in other words, Zion, you're married to Zion. You're married to Jerusalem. Really, these are your masters. And your masters are there to nourish you, to bless you, to help rear you, raise you, give you of the abundance of her blessings. And that's what Zion did for us. That's what Jerusalem did for us. But we didn't honor Jerusalem, nor did we honor Zion. We loathe these places to the extent that Yahweh had to spew us out of the land. We didn't allow the land to rest. We didn't sow our seed according to the law. We shed innocent blood in the land. And we were the daughters of Zion, the daughter of Jerusalem. But we loathed the very master, the very husband that we had. And why? Because we really never knew the relationship that a mother and a daughter was to have. But I'm going to show you this day. After I show you this in the book of Micah, the 7th chapter. Watch what it says. Micah, the 7th chapter. And we're speaking on a mother and a daughter. In the book of Micah, the 7th chapter, watch what it says. We'll start at the 5th verse. Trust ye not in a friend. Put ye not confidence in a God. Keep the doors of thy mouth from her that lieth in thy bosom. See, a lot of people start talking to this mother, not realizing your confidence, your guide, your very friend will break you. And how would they break you? Because the very private things that you will share with them, they will share to others. Watch what it says. And look how Yahweh sees this. For the son dishonored the father. The daughter rises up against her mother. The daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's enemies are the men of his own house. And this is where we at today. Your greatest enemy is not outside, even though you got the doors locked. You got all kind of videos at the door around the house. You have the alarm system on. You have all this security outside of the house, not realizing your biggest enemy is in the house. And the one that will afflict you the most, terrorize you the most, is indoors. And you done locked them in. But the Creator is here to make the crooked things straight. Let me show you the type of relationship that you're supposed to have. The relationship that you're supposed to see in a mother and a daughter. And watch this. The greatest mother and daughter relationship in the scriptures. And you'll find it in the book of Ruth. And let us turn there. Ruth, the first chapter. I want you to see this. We're talking about relationship. This is relationship number 5. We dealt with Elohim and man, husband and wife, father and mother, father and son, and now we're dealing with mother and daughter. And watch what this says. Just want you to see this. Ruth, the first chapter. That's what we're about to read. In the book of Ruth, the first chapter, watch what it says in the 14th verse. And right before I read this 14th verse, let me just give you a breakdown of what this is talking about. Here it is. You had a woman whose husband died. She had 2 sons who were married, and they died. So now all you have is a house full of women. And for the most part, a house full of women can't coexist together. Not today they can't. Especially today, they cannot. And one of the sisters or daughters, she left and returned back to her people. And one stayed. And this is where this story begins. This is what it says. In the book of Ruth, the first chapter, we'll start at the 12th verse. Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would you stay for them from having husbands? No, my daughters. For it grieveth me such for your sakes, that the hand of Yah is gone out against me. Yahweh killed my husband, and he killed my sons. And so Naomi, she seen this as a hand against her. And they lifted up their voice and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law. But Ruth cleaved unto her. And a lot of people ask me, well, what do the word cleave mean? What do it mean to cleave? And here it is. Ruth is the daughter, and Naomi is the mother. And it didn't say Naomi cleaved unto Ruth and it wouldn't let her go. No, Ruth cleaved unto her mother. And she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people and to her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And watch what Ruth said. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee. or to return from following after thee. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to follow somebody. And Naomi was not about to follow Ruth, but Ruth in her virtuousness decided she was going to follow Naomi. For whither thou goest, I will go. And where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy Elohim, my Elohim. In other words, if you're going to follow somebody, you got to follow them all the way. You can't halfway do it, 3/4 do it. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. Yah do so to me, and more also, if I but death part thee and me. And when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. That's what it means to cleave to someone. Furthermore, not just there, talking about a mother and a daughter, this wasn't even her biological daughter, but she might as well was. In Ruth, the 2nd chapter, watch what it says. It says in the 11th verse, and Boaz answered and said unto her, talking about Ruth, it hath fully been shown me all that thou hast done unto thy mother-in-law since the death of thy husband, and how thou hast left thy father and thy mother and the land of thy nativity, and art come unto a people which thou knowest not heretofore. In other words, you didn't even know these people for real, other than the fact you was married to them, but you left everything and you followed them and you cleaved unto them. And most people, most of these women don't have a good relationship with their mother-in-laws. They don't have a good relationship with their in-laws, period. And why? Because they never had the attitude that they was going to cleave unto anybody. Period. But this is what you have to do. Watch this. The first time we read in Ruth 1:14, the second time it's talk about this mother and daughter relationship is in 2:11, Ruth 2nd chapter, 11th verse. The third time it speak about this relationship is in Ruth, the 2nd chapter, the 18th verse. Watch what it says. And she took it up after gleaning the field and went into the city. And her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned. And she brought forth and gave to her that she had reserved after she was sufficed. And her mother-in-law said unto her, where hast thou gleaned today? And wert thou? Blessed be he that did take knowledge of thee. And she showed her mother-in-law with whom she had wrought, and said, the man's name with whom I wrought today is Boaz. Now Naomi knew this was a blessing. And Naomi said unto her daughter-in-law, blessed be he of Yahweh, who have not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead. And Naomi said unto her, the man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. And she knew this was a blessing from Yahweh. And oftentimes We in families, we in relationships, but we can never see the blessing. All we see is the turmoil. All we see is the affliction. And who can be more afflicted than Naomi and Ruth and their family? Your husband died, both your sons died. There was a famine in the earth. You got to run back home to your people, poor, broken, and death throughout your family. That seemed like a person who would be broken. But these things are not happening to a lot of our people right now. Some of these things are. But other things is breaking them, not these type of afflictions. Watch this. Still in the book of Ruth, so you can see this. She was able to see Yahweh still in spite of all these calamities and issues and problems. The 22nd and 23rd verse. And Naomi said unto Ruth, her daughter-in-law, it is good, my daughter, that thou go out with his maidens, that they meet thee not in any other field. So she kept fast by the maids of Boaz to glean unto the end of barley harvest and of the wheat harvest, and dwelt with her mother-in-law. In other words, she wasn't about to leave her mother-in-law. Now she can see the decision that she made to cleave unto her mother became a blessing. And why can't we see this? Why don't we know this? Why can't we see the blessings of Yah? Why can't we see outside of our own self? And I'm going to show you why we can't. Watch this. Still dealing with Ruth. Ruth, the 3rd chapter, the very first verse. We're talking about the relationship of a mother and a daughter. Watch this. The very first verse. Then Naomi, her mother-in-law, said unto her, my daughter, shall I not seek rest for thee, that it may be well with thee? In other words, I want you to work in these fields with my nearest of kin. I want you to have rest. I want you to be well. I want you to find a husband. I want you to have peace. It is my obligation to look out for your well-being. Don't the scriptures say, where is thy Abel, thy brother? And Cain said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? You supposed to be. And we're not keeping one another. But Naomi is with her daughter. And her daughter is with her mother. Watch what it says. 2nd verse. And now is not Boaz of our kindred, with whose maiden thou was? Behold, he would know it barley tonight in the threshing floor. So she set her up as a possible wife for her nearest kin, which is good. That's what you're supposed to do. Prepare her, get her ready. But she's already ready because she's a virtuous woman. You can see her virtues. Watch what it says in the 6th verse. And she went down unto the floor and did according to all that her mother-in-law bade her. She didn't go by her own imagination. She didn't go by her own feelings, her own emotions. She wasn't scared. I'm too scared. I can't do this. He's gonna think this, he's gonna think that. What if he reject me? What if this? What if that? Your imaginations that lead you wrong all the time. That's why you have to learn how to shema. You got to learn how to hear. You got to learn how to obey, which I may add, the word obey, the word hearken also means shema. That's where it comes from. Also, in this same Ruth, the third chapter, watch what it says. And we're going to start reading at the 15th verse. Also, he said, bring the veil that thou hast upon thee and hold it. And when she held it, he measured 6 measures of barley and laid it on her. And she went into the city. And when she came to her mother-in-law, she said, who art thou? And she seen a different woman now. A woman that seemed to be happy. A woman that seemed to be very blessed. A woman that seemed to be feeling herself in a good way. Who art thou, my daughter? And she told her all that the man had done to her. And she said, these 6 measures of barley gave he me, for he said to me, go, not empty unto thy mother-in-law. In other words, looking out for both of them. She knew this was a sign. She felt this was a sign. And the sign was established. Then said she, sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day. In other words, she knew this was just the beginning of what Boaz was doing. Boaz was going to establish this thing. And establish what? He was going to buy everything of Naomi. Since her sons had died, they had inheritance, and he had part of the right to purchase all that they had. And of course, that's exactly what he did according to the law. And part of that purchase became his wife, whose name was Ruth. One of the sisters, most virtuous sisters in the scriptures, and most blessed sisters in the scriptures, who demonstrated how a mother and a daughter relationship should be. And I understand why the sisters don't have good relationship with their mothers, because it's the same reasons the sisters don't have good relationship with one another. And it's the same reason why the sisters don't have good relationships with their men. And let me show you this. You'll find this in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, the 9th chapter. That's why the scriptures say a virtuous woman who can find? Nobody. But watch this. In the book of Jeremiah, the 9th chapter, the 20th verse. Yet hear the word of Yahweh, O ye women, and let your ear receive of the word of his mouth, and teach your daughters welling, and every one her neighbor lamentation. And why? What do this even mean? Teach your daughter wellings, which they're not doing, and teach everyone your neighbor lamentation, which still is not being done. But why do this? What is the purpose? Is this for just a bunch of sisters to come out and start crying and wailing and lamenting? No, not at all. Why is this something that must be taught? Well, let me tell you why. See, Yahweh, when he designed and made and created a woman, it was different than a man. And a woman in the scriptures, according to the scriptures, is wrapped up and cloaked in a lot of emotions. That's why they're emotional today, which is okay when you know how to control your emotions. And the Almighty wanted the women to teach their daughters wailing and lamentation. In other words, since a woman is clothed in emotions and feelings, you notice every time a woman say, so I'm not saying such and such, I just feel this way, and I feel that way, and I feel downtrodden, and I feel they got a lot of feelings. And at the end of the day, though, why ain't they feeling their sisters? Why ain't they feeling their mothers? Why aren't they feeling these other children of other parents that's been downtrodden? See, once you see children downtrodden, either you feel them or not. Either you feel the poor or you don't. We know when you feel them because you out there doing something for them. But when you ain't feeling them, you're going to be to your own. And the mass majority of the women today, the only ones they feel is they self. They tell you about their feelings, but they seem not to understand nobody else's feelings. And since you don't understand nobody else's feelings, guess what? You're not going to wail for them. You're not going to lament with them. No, you're not going to do that because you don't even feel them. You don't feel no one, as a matter of fact. You don't feel the men in your community that's been broken, that's been downtrodden, that's been totally castrated by their enemies. You don't feel that. Because if you feel that, you will lament that. You will wail about that. But you wailing about nothing but yourself. That's what Yahweh meant. But teach your daughters well. Teach them to feel the downtrodden, the destruction, the death of others. Mother and daughter. Relationship part 5. And until our next lesson, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.